Can you guys see me? Okay, we're back. I don't know what happened. But it allows me to talk about rattling. Ay, ay, ay. I have spent so much time and money, frankly, having this room hardwired. I mean, we had to have holes drilled in the walls because I'm like, if I'm going to be doing this from home, I want to have a really great internet connection. Like, I really, just so you know, like really invested to be able to not have interruptions. So I apologize for that because that shouldn't happen. Anyway. Yeah, well, anyway, there we are. I did want to talk about rattling anyway, so it's a good reminder. Thank you for your patience. Am I decorating? No. I did wash the poop off my hands since I had a break. Didn't want to break, but I took the break. Okay, here we go. So, I'm still confused. It's a different type of wands. We talked about this earlier, so we did cover that. When is it appropriate to use sacred tobacco or mapacho in ceremony? So I'm just kind of diving right back in. This is mapacho tobacco. And then it comes in these little cigarettes too. Mine is from eBay. Somebody told me he's not on eBay anymore. If that's true, it's kind of sad. I don't sell it because I don't know if it's legal to sell it, so maybe that's why he's not on eBay anymore. So I don't sell it. I don't really put it in products or anything. I figure if you want it and you find it, then you can work with it. Mapacho tobacco is very, very pure tobacco. It's much more powerful than like the nicotine that you would find in an American cigarette, for example. So it's really important not to inhale it. Really important because it's just so potent. So even when people do tobacco ceremony, they will, but they're not sitting there like inhaling it. It's not coming out through their nose, right? And you could grow it if you wanted. It's a very specific strain of the nicotine plant. Nicotina, what's the botanical name of mapacho? I can't remember. Nicotina, it's like on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, it's a very specific strain. It grows wild in Central and South America. I don't think I have enough humidity where I am to keep it going, but if it can grow where you are and you can find seeds or something like that, I think that would be really awesome for you to grow it. Traditionally, so I've been initiated into tobacco ceremony by one of my teachers, who was initiated by one of her teachers, and that initiation involved, can you guys all see me? Oh, Nicotina rustica, right? And is it Nicotiana rustica? Maybe. Nicotiana rustica. So anyway, she was initiated by her teacher, and what that involved was a tobacco ceremony that I think I told you the story that my dentist found very funny because we, okay, good. Yay. Hi, 10, Dawn Fisher. I answered your question. There's a whole process where you have to steep it and make it into this really potent tea, and then you have to inhale it through the left nostril and have it come out the right nostril, and then there's a whole set of blessings, and it goes into the fire, and then the other side you inhale it through the right nostril and it goes up and through your nasal passages. It burns really badly. And it was not the most pleasant thing I'd been through, but it was very, very magical. And then again, it's like a spitting into the fire, and it's a releasing, and it's the masculine and the feminine and the grandfather spirit. And it didn't feel good. I was fortunate because she didn't really tell me all the details of what it was going to be like before, because I probably would have asked a lot of questions and maybe been like, but she was just like, no, don't worry about it. Just you know, like just do the thing. And then when I went to the dentist, because I'm really particular about my teeth and had my teeth cleaned afterward, he's like, take a look at the back of your teeth with a mirror. And I looked, and I couldn't see it when I was smiling. I was teaching you while this was happening, but the whole back of my teeth was black. It had formed this like black like layer, and the hygienist had to use like the vibrator thing twice to get all of the nicotine residue out of the back of my teeth. So I've been initiated, which in theory means that I can pass tobacco medicine on to you. It might be kind of fun for us to do some sort of tobacco ceremony, just initiate you into that. I haven't really been called to do it, and I would not do the liquid version, so I'd have to figure out some kind of smoke version that we could do, or a smoke-less version, because, a lot of people don't want to smoke at all, which I don't blame you. I don't like to smoke. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't smoke anything because my mom has COPD, and it just really turns me off. So once in a while I will do mapacho with you, but other than that, and I'll do it a little bit for myself, but other than that, I don't come near cigarettes of any kind, just because I've seen my mom suffer. So no judgment if you're a smoker, but just it's for my personal thing. I'm not into smoking. So we would just have to figure out a different way to do it. And then that tradition gets passed on to you, and then you can do it. There's plenty of people who work with mapacho who have not been initiated through a proper tobacco initiation ceremony. So if you feel called to work with it, I would say work with it. You know what I mean? And maybe I can find a smokeless way to do it that still kind of like connects with the energy of that experience. What I did was smokeless, but very challenging. Once I got it up the one nostril and down, and then I realized I had to do the other side, I was like, once you know what you're doing, then you're like, oh my goodness, right? That was a great question. I'm glad you asked it. And then the next question is from Priscilla Ocasio. I do not have a specific question. I would like for you to repeat your take on spells and protocols on working with white magic versus black magic. Too many requesting spells, and to me, this is an area that needs to be understood and re-examined. Yeah, if you ever spend time in the full moon ritualist group, I don't spend much time there, frankly. I have team members who moderate that group. That group is hard on my central nervous system. I pop in a couple times a week. I'm not there very much. That group is sort of self-sustaining, and if there wasn't a group of people who really relied on it and loved it, I probably at some point would have taken it down. And because that group is like, it's uncivilized sometimes. It just overwhelms me. And people are not nice to each other in that group, or they're not even respectful, So anyway, enter as you will, but it's not the tightest container. It's just a lot. I'm still in it, but I'm not in it, if you know what I mean. I spend my time in our groups, in Crystal Masters and Soul Shift. Like, I am in your groups every day. Those groups, nah. It's a lot. Yeah, and unfollowing is probably a good way of going about it. There's great people in that group, right? I mean, there's some really great people, and I don't know how they do it. And they're in there all the time. I'm always like, really smart, powerful, amazing people are in there every day. I'm like, I don't know how you hold it. But anyway, I'm saying that because it's constantly requests for spells. Can you do a spell for this? Can you do a spell for that? Not all spell work is bad. You know what I mean? I'm very careful to say never do this, never do that. But some spell work, and this is true, manipulates will. I draw a line at manipulating will. My opinion is, my 2 cents, that no human being has the permission to manipulate another's will. I just don't believe that that's true. I don't think that's why we're here. I will never bend your will. In fact, I've had people come to me like after they'll leave a group, right? They'll leave Soul Shift for whatever reason, and then they'll come back later and say, well, I was really hurt that you didn't come to me and ask me to come back. I would never do that. I just wouldn't. Even if I really wanted you to come back, I would never come to you and say, please stay in Soul Shift. Please don't leave. Please come back. That's bending will. I can't do that. I actually heard of another teacher, I will never say who, that did that. I had a student come to me and say, I've been in this other group. I wanted to join your group, but now I'm gun shy because I was in this other person's group and I left. And that person wrote to me and said, please come back into the group. I don't think your work is done yet. And I was like, you need to run away. You need to run away as fast as you can, right? So spell work to me is intention, right? I think it's very great to set an intention. I think it's very great to hold space for other people. I think it's great to raise energy for an intention. I just don't think I'm a consent and boundary person, to Scout's point. And I think if you want to be in a place, you should be in a place. I think if you don't want to be in a place, you should not be in a place, and no one should intervene or interfere. I've had people say, I will pay you whatever you want. I just need this person back. I need Bob back. Bob has got to come back. And I'm just like, and in my mind, I'm going, don't worry, Bob. I ain't doing it. So anyway, I share with you that my advice to you is, if you do not want karmic debt, which is the most uncomfortable experience you can have, do not do not bend will. That is not your right. That's right. Can you imagine a teacher going, you need to come back and start paying your membership again because your work isn't finished? What? None of you have mentioned working with this person, by the way. So I am not referring to anyone that any of you have ever mentioned in my groups. So if that helps to ease your anxiety, I won't tell you who it is, but I will tell you it's not anyone that you guys have mentioned. But if I ever did that to you, I would expect you to really question my sanity and my ethics, honestly. Elena's like, now I want Bob. Right? Okay. I hope that helped to clarify, Priscilla. And then we talked about black magic earlier, what I consider to be black magic and just how dangerous I think it can be. Here's the thing with black magic, you can't control it. I mean, it is consciously destructive. So it's going to go against your will too. Black magic is like a boomerang. But again, some people like to roll the dice and play, and they think it's fun and exciting, and woo, you don't know what's going to happen, but it's just, that's not my kind of fun. Deanna Franco, regarding space, I'm trying to remember for myself as I do my own readings. I want to know the most sacred ways to do a circle or setting yourself up with the crystals surrounding us as we sit for meditation. I love to have the chumpies around me. And that's an interesting, Scout's asking, can we have a bonus about energetic consent and boundaries as a deep dive? I still think there's some confusion out and about in the group sometimes. Yeah, I'm very open to it. What I would want from you, if it's okay, is just more about the specifics of what you would like for me to cover on that. Like, for example, are there specific types of consent that you are thinking about? Just so I would know how to prepare for it. Or it could just be a discussion. Do you know what I mean? Well, what if this? What if that? What if I have a person who comes to me for this? What if I have a client who's asking for that? You know what I mean? If it's like a scenario-based thing, like a practicum almost, where you could ask questions and I could offer my insight, like something like that could be kind of helpful, I think. I don't know if that's what you have in mind, but I think it could be, that kind of session might be best as a back and forth, like you ask a question, but I also want to say, candidly, I don't consider myself the absolute expert on this. I really don't. I only have my experience. Now I have a lot of experience because I've been doing this for a minute, but I don't have all of the experience. So I wouldn't want to set myself up as like, now I will tell you about boundaries and you know what I mean? But if you just want my 2 cents and a back and forth about like, well, what if this came up or what if this happened or what about this weird blurry line or what about that, I'm very open to that. I think scenario-based learning is really helpful. So as long as that's what you're thinking, I think it's a great idea, and I'd be happy to facilitate it for sure. So Deanna, back to you. I like to have the chumpies around me when I meditate. It's one thing to do. The other thing that's really helpful, gosh, I wish I had my phone so I could just get up and show you around my room. And I'm sitting in front of my, the Platonic solids, which we have an entire Crystal Masters class coming up just on the Platonic solids. I think you know that. A couple of months. So those are the 5 building blocks of the universe, right? Like all sacred geometry comes down to those Platonic solids. And so if you don't have chumpies, get the Platonic solids. You can get just a tiny set, doesn't it? I mean, I have the big sets, and like in the gem sale 2 weeks ago or whatever, we had the big green aventurine ones. Do you remember that? Those are, it's sexy to have the big ones, but they also have sets of the small ones. We're trying to work on that as your Crystal Masters tool, by the way, trying to work on it for you for the next couple of months. So you'll if you're in Crystal Masters and you get your tools, hopefully by the end of the year, you'll have a set of Platonic solids for me, because I want to teach you about each one. They align to the elements, you wait till you learn. I mean, they align to almost everything you can imagine. Chumpies are these carved stones. They're either gemstones or alabaster, usually alabaster, that come out of Peru. And each one of the chumpies, there's 7, and they each have different numbers of terminations on them. They correspond to the 7 mountains that are around Cusco, Peru. And those are considered the grandfather spirits, and they bring 7 blessings, and they align to the 7 chakras. It's funny because this is what I was teaching actually last night in Soul Shift. That's why a lot of you who are here in Crystal Masters and some of the questions you're asking, I think Soul Shift might be good for you. For some of you, you may not need it because you just are here for crystal healing and aren't really interested in the rest of this, right? But for some of you, I still think crystal healing relates to all of this, right? Because if you're going to do a good crystal healing session, you better have some really good boundaries, and you better have some real good ethics, and you better know where you're coming from energetically, and you also need to probably be thinking about some of these interesting scenarios that could come up and how you would respond, right? So yeah, and I understand. I mean, if you can't afford it, that's a whole separate thing. But if you are interested in learning more, and again, I'm not saying this to convince you, but for some of you who are asking these questions, it's like there's a lot of those conversations going on over there right now too. So Platonic solids are a nice alternative to the chumpies, and what they represent are all of the elements, the directions, but they also represent all of the different sacred geometries, which, like we said, they're called the Platonic solids because Plato, the ancient Greek philosopher, called these the building blocks of life. And the reality is each one of those shapes is in your DNA. It's in your cellular structure, it's in the plants, it's in the trees, it's inside of your crystals, right? Everything that's organic is made up of these building blocks of life. And so those themselves create a container. And that can be, if you want to set up kind of a permanent meditation spot, either putting the chumpies, between the chumpies, sometimes I like to lay a selenite stick. That's one option for you. I did that in the classroom at SG. A lot of you have seen that. Or just doing the Platonic solids around your space and separating those out and putting some crystals in between could be really good too. So a couple suggestions. I think that those are different things for you to consider. Okay, here we go. Jennifer Moore Gonzalez. I'm very intuitive and spirit is always talking to me. I've gotten in trouble before by directly relaying the message. Person didn't want or receive message well, was mad. I've been working on boundaries, but also want to know what the protocol is for this. It's a great question. I've also had medium moments when I'm around someone and someone who's crossed over wants me to pass a message along. That happens to me a lot, by the way. I've never had a negative reaction to that, however. I just want to be using my gifts in the way for both mine and others' highest good. Okay. And that's true, actually. That was Crystal Masters last night. So that's true. If you're in Crystal Masters, last night's class was for you. But sometimes we talk about these other issues is what I meant, and there may be topics that might be of interest to you across the classes. Okay, Jennifer Moore Gonzalez, are you here? Because I want to make sure I'm understanding your question correctly too. And like I said, I may say something here that rubs you the wrong way. I don't share anything with people at this point in my life unless I know them really well, and even then I tread really carefully. I don't offer any intuited information to anybody. I'm glad you're here, unless they ask. And there are so many times where I sit on my hands. You know what I mean? And even though I feel from the spirit side, it's like, tell them, I still hesitate. Now, you might feel very differently. And again, I will respect your choices and your pathway always. You know, if you feel like information comes in and you need to share it, and that's your path, and that's your, you know, that's what needs to happen for you. I have, in my earlier days, I used to share more than I do now, and I sometimes got into a position where either either the person wasn't ready to hear it. You know what I mean? So I've got spirit going, share this, and then it's like, that was too much, you know, it's like too much for them. And then I feel like oddly in the middle, right? It's really hard for me sometimes, because sometimes I will get spirit side information and know who it's for. And like, this person is not asking, and so I'm not telling. And then I see something happen where the spirit side information would have helped them, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it may have interrupted their process or their growth or their learning. Or so I completely understand your question. Do you know what I mean? But that's where I'm at now. I'm reading your comments too. Holden said, needed most of the time, not always. My guides speak through, where is that? Through Scout when I'm not listening to smack me around. Yeah, well, with a partner, it's different, right? And I really appreciate that. Like, a lot of people in this group have given me permission. So if something comes up for one of you and I know that you've given me permission, like, I'll share it. You know what I mean? I don't hold back. But when it's somebody I don't know, I mean, I literally, and Spirit does it less with me now, but I used to be standing in Trader Joe's, like back when you could stand in a Trader Joe's near people. You know, you remember those days? I remember standing at Trader Joe's many times in lines, and it's like, she's having an affair, and she's pregnant and doesn't know it yet, and she needs to stop smoking. And then this one over here, and I'm just like, I don't want to know this. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm looking at all these people and I'm like, I just want to buy my, you know, Tempe, whatever I was buying, right? I don't want this. Don's like, this is why I don't talk to people. It's true. But you can get yourself into some sticky situations. I'm going to tell you something. No, seriously. I mean, I used to get it all day long. Big time. Well, I appreciate it. And seriously. And if something really strongly comes up, like if something really strongly came up for one of you, I would probably check in. I may not directly come at you with the thing, but I may just kind of check in. And then if you were to say, well, I don't know, what do you think? Do you have any guidance? Then, you know, then I have permission, right? This may make a lot of sense to a lot of you. It may make no sense to any of you. So I'm just going to say it because this is where I'm at. I have learned that a couple of things on my way, and then I'm going to share a little bit with you about around sound, and then I'm going to sign off because we've got readings in a couple of minutes. Was today helpful? Did you guys enjoy it? I mean, I have gone through all of the questions, so I feel good about that. I feel like we covered a lot of bases around circles and smudging and clearing and different tools that you can use. At this point in my life, I really value peace. I really value my peace. And I value my peace more than I value sharing my opinion. I value my peace more than I value disrupting other people's peace. I really do. I mean, there was a time where I thought, well, this is why I'm here, and I'm supposed to do this, and you know, this is coming through and stuff. I think when I was younger, I value peace. Like, for example, there's so much I want to say about what's happening in the world right now. And I've wanted to talk about it since I started having the visions in ayahuasca, right? But you're not going to hear me say it. I'm not even going to say it here in this group. I'm not going to say it anywhere. Because first of all, I don't know if I'm right. Second of all, I value my peace. Third of all, 20% of you might be curious. The other 80% probably don't want to hear it. Do you know what I mean? And I don't always know if I'm 100% right. But I look on Facebook, for example, and it's just anybody will just say anything. And I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, at what point? Why? Why are you putting that out there? Do you know? No, I'm serious. 20% of people might be interested in what I would have to say, and then 80% wouldn't be, and 70% of those people might be triggered by it. Do you know what I mean? So what I do is I process with, Dave and, a very, very small number of other people in my life, and I process with myself and my guides, but I honestly, if you notice my feed, and I actually had one friend reach out to me and say, Athena, your personal Facebook is so kind of just like personal, and it's your garden and stuff, and I'm like, that's my peace. I'm not here to be floating conspiracy theories and freaking people out. And I'm with you, Scout. I think energy management and boundary management is really, really, really important. And I mean, honestly, I kind of wish people would manage their energy more than they do. I just feel like I don't really know what people are doing right now. And I don't know how it's serving them. The one question I think you should always ask yourself is, how is this serving me? Some people on Facebook, for example, just want attention. And so they're going to get it. But it's like, how are you getting your attention, right? Is that the kind of attention you want? And I understand wanting attention. I don't want it now, but there have been times, like part of the reason I haven't put my podcast out there yet is I don't know how much attention I want right now. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm so happy with my life, and I'm so happy with our community, and I'm really satisfied. And it's just like, that's just going to open a whole other world. And part of me is like, I just don't know right now. So I'm just sharing that with you because one of the things after today I want you guys to think about, because I value your peace too. I am never going to come into our groups and disrupt your peace. I'm not going to throw you off. I'm not going to start acting weird. I have a concept I want to teach you. Are you ready? And this is something that I used to use it as a coach when I was an executive coach for companies. I use it with my families. With my family and my extended family. I talk about it with my friends, and most people I've taught this concept to have found it very interesting. It'll take me 1 minute to teach you. And I call it the band, okay? You can think about it as a sine wave, okay? Everybody, for the most part, operates within a certain band of energy, okay? We go up, we go down, right? You guys have seen me very excited about things, and you've seen me cry over stuff. You've seen me have difficult times. You've seen me experience loss. You've seen me go through, struggles with all kinds of different things, okay? But I have a band. You probably won't see me go out of that band. I'm very mindful of it. I manage that band. If I start feeling myself go too up here or too down here, I check myself. I ask myself what's going on. I take a break. I smudge. I clear the energy. I move the energy. I'll do a plant medicine ceremony. If I start to feel myself, because this is my band. When people behave out of their band, that creates a ripple of energetic disruption that affects not only the person, but everyone around that person. I'm very mindful of my band, and I'm mindful of that, not just for myself, but I'm mindful of it for you. Energy in the group, right? There's a band. When it goes too far out of that band, I jump in because we're going to regulate, right? This is our band. And what I've learned is that's how you create comfort for people. That's how you create trust in relationships, right? Have you ever had somebody all of a sudden act so far out of band where you're like, what just happened, right? Like, it's hard to understand when somebody's really out of band. And your children too, right? Like, my kids know me to be in here. if I were just, I don't yell, for example. I'm not a yeller. I'm not a screamer. I'm not judging people who do, but I grew up with a little bit of that, and I don't like what it does to my central nervous system, so I don't yell. If I was to start yelling at my kids, that's out of band. I don't even know what they would do. I don't know what they would do. They would probably look at me like I'm a crazy person. In all their lives, they've never seen me like just sit there and start screaming and yelling at them, right? Now, if I yell at them every day, then that's in the band. So, and if you grow up in an Italian household or even a Greek household, people yell, right? Like, that's the off your rocker thing, right? So what I like to tell people is watch your band. Be mindful of your band. It doesn't mean you can't get really sad or really excited. Doesn't mean you can't get low. Doesn't mean you can't get high. But when you're doing this, you need to check it. You know what I mean? And I've seen people recently on Facebook. And so what causes out of band is really deep anxiety. And so you might notice this time in the world is pulling people out of band. If they were a little bit conspiracy, now they're big conspiracy. If they were a little bit anxious, now they're all over the board. If they were trying to get a little bit of attention before, whoa, now it's out here. And it's like, I'm finding myself going like this with people, even in my personal life. Like, really? 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 Out of band, right? So that for me is kind of how I think about energy management. I try to watch my band. And if I'm in or out of that band, I try to manage that. Okay, how do you get your band in check? You check it. You meditate, you do sound therapy, you take a bath, you take a walk, you take a breath, you step away, you change the tone of your voice, you relax, you talk to someone about it, right? You chill. you allow yourself to feel the feelings and move them through so that they're not running you, right? You're either running your emotions or they're running you. And you got to choose. I run my emotions. I'm running this show. My emotions are not running me. But sometimes your emotions can be like a 13-year-old who's like, I know better than you. And it's like, no, you don't know better than me. Right? Feel the feelings but move through the feelings. Don't live in those feelings. That's when we go too far out of band, right? Okay, so very quickly on sound. Sound is an instant purifier of energy. Whether it's just a little tiny singing bowl, we had these on the website eons ago. Whether it's a full singing bowl, whether it's a singing chalice or a pyramid, whether it's the tingsas or a drum. Drumming, even singing if you're a good singer. I'm a very bad singer. I want to get better, but I'm not good at it yet. But even if you're a great singer or you want to use your voice is good too. Rattling always moves energy through the field. And you can just move it through your whole energy field. It doesn't take very long, and it shifts everything. And it doesn't matter what kind of rattle it is, whether it's a seed pod or even if you don't have anything else, a bottle of Advil. What you got, right? You can use what you've got until you have different tools, right? So that's another really powerful tool to very quickly shift the energy as well. And chimes, which will be coming soon. Sage Goddess chimes should be here in about 5 weeks, which is very exciting. We got our own custom version of these. Isn't that fun? That helps too. So thank you for all of your great questions. Thank you for your patience while we had weirdness with the internet today. Thank you for your presence in these communities. I'm grateful for you. Obviously, you know that you make this space what it is, which is beautiful and powerful. There are amazing practitioners in your community, and the comments here are testimony to that. You're not just learning from me. And I think that you've seen that through the comments tonight too. And that's what makes this powerful. I'm not the only voice in the room. I don't always have the right answers. But today was a fun opportunity to share with you my best thinking on some very important topics. So I appreciate it. And would love to do the back and forth around different scenarios too. If that's helpful for you guys, we can certainly schedule that. Yeah, so shadow work, probably can't cover that tonight for you, Rebecca, but we can always cover it in a future session too. Maybe we could do a little overview for Crystal Masters for those who aren't in Soul Shift, because Soul Shift is where we're doing our shadow work this year. But if you're not in Soul Shift or can't be in Soul Shift, maybe we could do a little primer for you so that you understand a little bit about it. Maybe more toward the fall, which is traditionally when we do that work. So I'll come back around for that too. All right, you guys. I want to thank you for being here, and I will look forward to seeing you in the Crystal Masters Facebook group in like 3 minutes. I'm going to go get something to drink really quick, and I'll be right with you.